Okay, welcome to this afternoon session at ISH. Thank you very much for joining us. I know it's always challenging to have a session like this after a heavy lunch. How was the lunch, Chef Manisha, this afternoon?
Very good. I think there was something for everyone there. There was Asian, there was Indian, there was Western. I love the tiramisu, which is shaped into a mushroom.
Yeah.
Fantastic idea.
Thank you.
I think Chef did a great job with biryani too.
That's right. I think that was a great idea to serve biryani in small portions, so there's no touch points there.
Yeah,
that worked out very well.
Very good.
So what are we doing here today, Chef? I believe you got a lot of prep here, a lot of mise en place.
So it was a challenge when they said, okay, you have to do cookery. So I said, what recipe should I teach? So I said, okay, it's not the recipe. Let's look at something which is right now in everybody's mind, the immunity boosting things. So I went back to my Indian roots plus presenting it in a little Western touch. So we are using amaranth, which is again good for immunity. It's a auto, lot of vitamins are there. Then we have haldi, which is very high in curcumin, which is from Meghalaya.
Yeah.
So normal haldi which you'll get in the market would have kind of 4% curcumin in that.
Okay.
But haldi from Meghalaya has close to 7 to 12% haldi in that.
Oh, is that right?
It's very, very good, anti-inflammatory.
And is it, in terms of cost, does it cost more? That's why people don't use it?
Not really, because if you, today health is a buzzword. Health is a new luxury that we all are looking for.
Yeah.
So if you have to spend maybe 20% more than the regular, then I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
And also it goes back to the farmer. Let's understand that. We also need to encourage them to follow the right practices to give us what it comes on the table.
Sure.
So I don't think cost should be a guiding line in this.
Absolutely. Agree. So would you like to start with some process of cooking, then
Absolutely.
we can keep,
so what I have done, we have some lamb chops.
Yeah.
So these are lamb chops which are from Rajasthan. We all know Rajasthan has the best mutton, goat meat. So this comes from a place called Sirohi.
Right.
So the lamb gets its particular flavor, the mutton chop gets its particular flavor from the feed it grazes on.
Yeah.
So these are the shepherds who build this, who
What I find interesting is there's no fat in there at all. So
yeah,
it's all very well exercised.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Yeah. And so they have to run because of shade, and they have to run because there's so much sun.
And they have to feed themselves. They are not cooped in a farm.
Correct.
So
are these farmed?
These are not farmed.
Okay.
These are free roaming. Yeah. Like in chicken, you call it cage free.
Right.
These are that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's where the flavor develops so well.
Sure.
These are not farm fed.
Are this used in all the ITC hotels?
All the ITC hotel we use this mutton.
Excellent.
In fact, we are the highest consumer of mutton, I think, in hotels. Perhaps Bukhara and Dampuk.
Sure, absolutely.
Are known for the mutton quality that we use. Yeah. So I'm going to put hunker to that.
Yeah.
Little bit of garlic. This is Shahi Zira.
Is this caraway in English? Is the same thing?
Yeah,
similar?
It's caraway, similar to caraway. Yeah. Again, all these ingredients are very good for building immunity.
Yeah.
This is peepli powder. Peepli is a superior cousin of pepper. We call it long pepper.
Right.
I have it right here. Best peepli again comes from Assam.
Right.
It grows in Kerala also.
Nice aroma.
Yeah, it's a very nice aroma. So if you search, it's a very good alternate for black pepper.
Right. And does it have similar kind of heat as to black
Similar
pepper?
kind of heat, but more nutritional value, more anti-inflammatory values here. Yeah.
And do you use the same dosage what you would use with pepper, regular pepper?
Maybe 80%, 75% you would use for peepli than compared to black pepper. These are more stronger.
Okay.
It's more stronger. So a little bit of peepli powder. Of course,
and
salt.
Are these powdered within the hotel? Or
they are powdered fresh.
They're powdered as
These are powdered fresh because then only the essential oils would come out. So if you powder it before and keep it in your refrigerator on the shelves, it loses its flavor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then this is garlic, ginger powder here. Ginger again, like we know, is good for throat. Mulatti powder is good for throat, so that's what I'm adding. I've added ginger powder, mulatti powder, peepli powder, and shahi zira.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just mix it up.
So a lot of time people feel that if it's nutritive food, then it need not be tasty.
That's right.
So you
that's
want to
right.
break that misnomer.
Absolutely.
Say that even if it's nutritive, it can still taste well.
Like I said, health is the new luxury and the new buzzword, and everybody's talking about
still, it
immunity.
need not be boring. It can still be
It need not be
exciting.
boring. You can make it exciting. You can make it. So I'm going to just marinate it, mix it well, and actually keep it for 3 to 4 hours.
Okay.
Since we don't have that luxury of time here, I already have a pre-marinated lamb chop. Yeah.
And so normally if you marinate this and keep it for 3-4 hours, it kind of allows the flavors to get in and
to develop, Ideally overnight. But if you keep it in a warm place, 3 to 4 hours should do the trick.
Sure.
You don't need to add any tenderizer to the lamb chop. It itself is a very
Yeah.
very tender meat.
Sure.
So this is marinated.
When in terms of adding, you added some hung yogurt. So is this yogurt also homemade, or this would be commercially bought?
This is homemade hung yogurt.
Hung yogurt, yeah.
With full cream milk.
Yeah.
You need the fat because lamb chop itself does not have the fat that's required.
Yeah.
So you add the fat quantity there. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it's already pre-marinated. We leave it aside.
Yeah.
We do little. We already have pre-marinated here. We are going to use this one.
And these are the same ingredients what you just showed us.
Same ingredients which I did
Yeah.
just 4-5 hours ago.
Yeah.
Now for the cooking, I'm using the earthen pot.
Right.
In our forefathers, our grandparents cooked in earthen pot. We used to call it kunni. In Punjab it's called kunni. The flavor develops so well in earthen pot.
Yeah.
It breathes. Actually, it breathes. It
Yeah.
helps in slow cooking.
Sure.
Slow cooking, the whole world knows slow cooking.
Yeah.
Everybody says it started in Italy, but maybe in India also had some
So I think
contribution there.
Absolutely. I think the concepts are started in India, but marketed very well in
Marketed
Europe.
very well,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So slow food movement started in Italy, but obviously our forefathers have been doing it.
The chula. You will keep the dal on
right.
chula and it will keep
Overnight,
cooking and
yeah,
overnight.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
if you cook meat on slow cooking, it has a very different flavor.
Yeah. So what is done to this pot? Is it kind of baked in a certain way?
It is baked in a certain way. It's baked up to 500, 600 degrees Celsius so that it holds the heat there.
Right.
It breathes well.
Got
The food the inertia, that means the slow cooking inertia would happen when you put the meat in this.
Sure.
And it makes the food alkali.
Sure.
We all know alkali system is very good for health.
Right.
So not acidic, your body should be alkaline.
Yeah.
So it is it adds alkaline properties to the meat that you cook in it, or anything that you would cook in a earthen pot.
Right. It's interesting because you mentioned alkalinity, and I think a lot of studies have shown now that in fact alkalinity improves and in fact makes that thing more nutritive. But a lot of time people add something acidic to make it tenderize it.
Yeah.
But what you did, you marinated it to increase the
I marinated it already,
Yeah.
so this will add and it will negate the acidity which is there.
That's right. Yeah.
And I'm using the mustard oil.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love mustard oil.
Absolutely.
So even in fact I make mayonnaise out of it. Comes out
Really?
very well.
Wow.
You burn the mustard oil, cool it, and
Yeah.
then use it as a mayonnaise.
Right.
It's better than olive oil,
Sure.
actually.
Sure.
So
And is this already smoked?
It's already smoked.
Oh, sorry.
It's already taken up to smoke point and cooled.
Yeah. You can already get the aroma of the mustard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
So tantalizing.
Yeah.
So in this particular recipe, you're not adding any onions, so you're just slow cooking it in its own juices.
Yeah, I'm slow cooking its own juices, and then I have the lamb jus, that means the lamb bones which were left over, have been roasted lightly
Okay.
and boiled for almost 24 hours in slow cooking.
Okay.
So that gives you a lot of strength there.
Yeah,
The protein comes out, the collagen comes out there.
Right. So explain me now. Obviously, you have started your career with Western food, and you're exposed to Italian, and Westview is one of the few restaurants which are a success because of you. So are you able to use some of those techniques into when you're cooking Indian food also, obviously?
Absolutely. So when I did the Helvi in Sheraton, New Delhi, so the brief was very clear to me that you got to cook Indian but think Western. Okay, so a lot of Western cooking principles were applied there.
Right.
So in Indian scenario, perhaps we've not catalogued our processes of cooking or method of cooking so well as Western cooking has.
Yeah.
But we follow the same principles.
Yeah.
So if you learn one cuisine very well with the basic principles in line, I think you can learn any cuisine
So
after applying those
skills
same.
are transferable.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? And also you can take the best from each cuisine and
True.
keep blending it and
True.
be creative
True.
about
True.
it.
True.
So while
So-
the cooking methodology or the ingredients which you're using could be Indian, but
Yeah.
the methodology could be Western.
Could be Western.
Yeah.
So like in this is inspired by Westview lamb chops.
That's right.
The lamb chops used to be very famous. We
Yeah.
used to do the cilantro and garlic lamb chop.
Sure.
What I have done, I have incorporated some ingredients which have the immunity tank to it to this lamb chop and created another dish.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well done. So what temperature would you bring it up to, or are you just going to sear it, brown it to one side?
I'm browning it and then I'm going to add the jus to it.
Okay. So all the people also must be wondering that why was this not served to us for lunch? I think we are blessed here in this room. We'll be able to taste it. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So they can always come back and taste it here. We have little
yeah.
more with us. Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
invite people later.
Yeah.
Now, one more thing I want to check with you about. ITC is very famous for its sustainability practices. And what are some of those sustainability practices you're using to get your ingredients in? Like, are you buying this directly from the person who is tending to these goats, or is it how?
Yeah, absolutely. So most of our mutton would come from Rajasthan. So we go to these people who are consolidators, and they get it from there. In fact, they are the only vendors who supply to ITC hotels only. They don't supply mutton to anybody else.
Okay.
So also a lot of sustainable initiatives that we follow within our hotels. We have a program called Choose Wisely,
Okay.
which we do with WWF.
Right.
So the fishes which are extinct, we have marked them as red on our menus, and green, which are
Available.
plenty available,
Yeah.
just to educate the customer that this is what he can make a choice.
Yeah.
It's his choice eventually.
Yeah.
We always give the choice, but the point is that he should be aware. So that is our way of telling them what all we can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then
so-
each of ITC hotels also have on the menus, we have a page called Local Love.
Okay.
So if you come to ITC Maurya, you will get local love of Delhi. If you go to Chennai, you will get the local flavors of Chennai.
Right.
Similarly, Hyderabad, similarly Mumbai, everywhere else we have.
Right.
So there are a lot of initiatives like Swasthya Cuisine.
The
We do
purpose
plenty.
of that is to reduce the carbon footprint.
That is to reduce the carbon footprint. Also, the guest who comes to you,
Yeah.
he may not be stepping out to enjoy the local food for whatever reason.
Yeah.
He may not have the time, or he may not have the confidence to maybe eat on the street
Yeah,
perhaps.
yeah.
So being in the hotel, he gets that kind of confidence about the food
Yeah.
quality and hygiene factor.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, one more thing, Chef Manisha, I want to speak to you about. There's a initiative which you might have heard about, Pro. So that's done by chefs in US who have worked with Barack Obama and Michelle.
I'm going to add the jus here, which
Oh,
I
sure,
have
sure.
just as process, and cover it, then we can chat.
Excellent. Thank you.
So I've added the stock that I had cooked earlier.
Yeah.
I'm adding bit of mulathi,
Whole, or would you?
whole. I'll add whole. I'll just, so that we can remove it later. It gives you a
Right.
very good flavor.
Yeah.
Plus, like I said, licorice, it's very good for throat.
Yeah.
Now we can talk.
Yeah. So I was speaking to you about this. Chefs in US, what they've done is they are become influencers as to what the policy needs to be for the government in terms of how and what people should be eating. Last thing you want is a big brother telling you what to eat, but like you're guiding your people coming to ITC, giving them options and influencing a little bit of their decision making. Do you think this is apparent that it should be happening at the policy level of the government? Will that not make more difference to it?
Absolutely. Make
Yeah.
in India program. I mean,
Yeah.
we follow that
Yeah.
to a large extent. So definitely whatever is available within your country,
Yeah.
you should be able to bring it on the table and make other people aware also.
Yeah.
At the same time, also develop the farmers
Yeah.
to grow more local produce. If you create these markets and these avenues from them,
Yeah.
then it will be a win-win for all.
Sure, sure. So we had done one study in Australia, which we had spoken to the farmers and to people who used to go to farmers market to get to understand why do they get motivated to go to farmers market, and farmers are trying to sell it directly. And really, we saw that there was a huge difference as to people going to the farmers market. They had more knowledge about the nutrients of the food because farmers, they're talking to the farmers directly. There's no middle person, there's
Yeah.
no supermarket, it's not
Yeah.
frozen.
Yeah.
It's just fresh from the farm to the fork kind of a thing. And what it proved to us that 60 people we interviewed, out of that 55 or 58 said that they have reduced their wastage because of this initiative, because when they buy it directly from the farmers, it kind of, they feel sorry to throw it because they see that hard work has gone into
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And I think that is such a good learning
Yeah.
for the young children when
Yeah.
they go and
And
see.
it will also motivate the farmers to follow the right practices. When
That's
he
right.
immediately interfaces with the customer, or he knows that is going to go on your plate,
Yeah.
he's also somewhere committed indirectly to make sure that you get the best food.
Absolutely.
So it also encourages them to,
Yeah, and also I think it brings the forefront the manufacturer or the producer of food directly with the customer.
Yeah.
And which would perhaps reduce the kind of suicides we have with farmers and some of the issues which we face in Indian context.
True.
So in your opinion, when you are cooking or making recipes or developing recipes, do you keep all these things in mind? Obviously.
we definitely keep all these things in mind, but some, like a specialty restaurant, like a Western or an Italian restaurant, if you need to use Parmesan or you need to use Parma ham, it has to come from there.
Absolutely. Has to
But
be
other
authentic.
things, yeah.
Yeah.
So other things like which are fresh produce, we try to use as much as what is available locally.
Yeah.
Definitely, that's
Yeah.
that's our endeavor.
Yeah.
We try to minimize, we try to develop the local producers and local manufacturers, whether it is your whether it is your lactose-free jams or honeys or butters or whatever they are making, or fresh produce, or they are packing, let's say, jamun jam. So that is what we are encouraging, or jamun vinegar. So these are the things that we encourage the local producers to give it to us, and there are a lot of young entrepreneurs who are doing this.
So do you believe that it will take some more time because of the scale? They're only able to produce small boutique kind of
That's right, volume? That's right. The volume is very limited, and they have a very little market because the awareness is not there. But I think hotels can start this awareness by using it on their menus.
Absolutely.
And so that the customer comes, he finds out what are you used and where is it available. So here it is the market for them.
And I think there's a lot of awareness because of chef's program we have on TV. So people know more about food than they used to when we were kind of
the world has opened up. If you go on Instagram, everybody seems to know about food. So yes, it's interesting because people are more aware. They know what they want. They are very knowledgeable. Luckily in Delhi also there are a lot of farmers markets which have come up. So on Sundays there are markets in Nizamuddin and everywhere else. So when you go there you realize it started very small, but of course with COVID nothing is happening, but once it opens up I'm sure it will open up with a bang again. So you see a lot of these new producers, young producers who are doing amazing work, including farmers who come from Himachal or Shimla or somewhere else. They come and showcase their product. So there's a lot of good work happening, and if somebody is interested, they should go there on Sunday. Sundar Nursery is the place.
Absolutely. So you just mentioned about Himachal, and there are a lot of cheese producers now, I believe, in Himachal. What is your take on that quality? Do you believe, would you be happy if somebody produces a good quality Parmesan cheese? Are you happy to use that?
We have actually, we have already started using that cheese, but definitely not Parmesan, but they do something like Zirai or Emmental, we are using it. But Parmesan still comes from Italy now, not come for last 6 months, but whenever it starts, we would be using that only, till we come to the Parmesan standard. But other neutral cheeses, they are doing Camembert, they are doing Brie, they are doing Emmental, we are using that, yes.
And you also mentioned earlier also about how some food work together with each other and some don't. Tell us a little bit about that.
So today's menu, actually what I did, there's something called food trophology. The food trophology is based on food principles. So it says that you should never mix protein and starch. But that perhaps is done by a Western scientist, so it is more Western specific. But in India we always eat dal roti, we eat dal chawal. Because our carbs are complex carbs, they are not refined carbs. So our whole wheat roti will go very well with dal or sabzi. If I was to make roti with maida, I would say no to it, a big no to it. Whereas in Western world they use maida bread, their breads are made with maida, they use very strong starches. That's why this trophology I'm doing today, where I'm doing the lamb chop with amaranth.
So what you're saying is the balance needs to be in the plate. So when it goes, all the nutrients kind of extract their nutrients best when they're together in the gut.
That's right. That's right. So what happens that when you're eating protein and starch together, protein needs alkali to digest and starch needs acid to digest. So the minute you're putting starch and protein, you're triggering alkali and acidic production in your stomach, which kind of negates each other. So what happens, you have undigested food lying in your tract. That's why they say never eat these refined starches with protein. If you want to eat starch, then you should have your roti, you should have your multigrain roti, that is fine.
But have you also seen that a lot of us or our parents had this knowledge, some of it is being carried on to us, and hopefully younger generation is able to benefit from it. But when a guest comes to a hotel, his expectation is to try something exotic. Then he's not looking at nutrition, he's looking more at presentation, taste, and a little bit more extra butter or oil does not, kind of take him away from that food. So how can we make it that hotels also start serving a little bit of ghar ka khana, so to say? What is available at home. And one issue I faced when I was in Hong Kong when we were doing ghar ka khana is that comparison. A person would come, oh, you made this sabji from Loki, my mother makes it like this, that's better. Because each house has a different recipe in India, isn't it? And what is the reason? How do you think we can change that? Is there a change, or is there a need to change?
There's definitely a need to change. Definitely there is a requirement for ghar ka khana. So we do, like I'm sure every other hotel chain also does a lot of ghar ka khana. So we have something called Swasthya cuisine. So under the Swasthya cuisine we have listed some of these simpler food, which people are who are more focused on the health, can order from. So Swasth cuisine comes from there. But like you said, ghar ka khana is very subjective. I like my pili dal with maybe jeera tadka. You may like with some hing tadka. So that is something that you customize to guest requirement. You can never. You have to ask the customer what he wants and create according to that.
Because there is no one ghar ka khana.
There is no one ghar ka khana.
There is one bechamel.
Yeah.
There is one,
Espanol or whatever.
But ghar ka khana Indian context or makhni
or any context. I mean, I think every nation would have their own, every household would have their own recipe to create.
But what my point is that a bechamel is a bechamel.
That's right. You can't go wrong with that. You can't mix.
It's the same recipe followed. Everybody knows all around the world. But Indian cuisine is not like that, and which is, I think, we don't want to make it less complex, but we want to make it more available to people.
Indian cuisine also has so many regional foods, community cuisine. So it will be difficult to standardize. Within a community, there will be 10 different households cooking that community cuisine in their own way. So that is where I think the challenge would come.
Absolutely.
So I may make a ghee roast in some certain way, and you may make it in a different way. You may add a little brown coconut. I may not add that at all. So it changes, I think.
It changes, and also I think what we have to respect that there is a reason why people eat that way. And when you're tasting or eating it, you need to be adventurous, and you need to go with the spirit of acceptance.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people say my recipe is the only recipe which is right, and that doesn't work, right?
There's no right or wrong, I think. It depends on, it's all perception, absolutely.
Let's see how much time will that take now?
I think it's almost, it's a lamb chop, shouldn't take very long.
Yeah.
It's almost done. Yeah, it's almost done. We should be ready to go.
So do you normally, like in Western food, we rest the lamb for some time before plating? Do you do that here also?
When it's a roast, a roast, definitely you would rest it because the structure to get little together. But if it's a lamb chop or something like that, I would not be holding it for a longer time.
And when it comes to the curriculum which the student should be learning, I'm sorry, I have to ask you something about to benefit our ISH curriculum also. So we teach a lot of dishes, and we also talk about the functionality of ingredients when we are teaching. So we're not teaching them recipes. We are saying, okay, this ingredient is doing this thing to your meat. So whether it's bringing acidity, whether it's bringing astringency, whether it's bringing sharpness, whether it's bringing some lemony notes. And so that way then they get a better understanding of why those ingredients are going there. Is that the right approach according to you?
I think to start with, yes, we should do that. They should understand why, what is put, for what reason. For example, pork will do very well with something which is sweetish, or lamb would do something which is a little astringent, like in this case we use mulati and we are using a little bit of lime here. So that knowledge is important. Then as they grow, they should develop their own recipes. Like we said, there are no right or wrong recipes. You have to come up with your own formula there. But in a restaurant standard, if you have a standardized recipe, that of course you have to follow. But one should keep experimenting and keep creating new flavors and new cuisines.
So now we also have a big issue with, sorry, please.
No, let's finish that.
We also have a big issue with wastage. I was reading somewhere that close to 40% of stuff is wasted in terms of food before it reaches the landfill. So what happens is you might be produced, some of it is rejected at that level, then it comes to the market, and some of it is rejected there, and then by the time it reaches a house or establishment, it spoils and it wastes. What are some of the ways we can improve or kind of reduce the wastage?
I had visited a farm near Bangalore a few years ago, and there was a huge pile of ghee lying there, bottle gourd. So I was very surprised. I said, why aren't you not selling it? He said, no, I've called people. They're not, I wasn't willing to give it to them free, but they're not willing to take it because the cost of transportation would be so much. And similarly, I'm sure so many things must be going waste near the farms. So it's important to have the supply chain lined up well. That should get little more, I should say, formalized. So that when as a chef, I'm talking about a hotel scenario, as a chef, when you need maybe let's say 5 kg or 10 kg of a certain exotic vegetable, it should be able to come to you. But that farmer needs someone to fix that chain for him. That is important. That consolidator is required there, or some kind of a
system in place.
Is required there. Otherwise, a lot of food is going waste. But I know 2 years ago, processing industry government has started ministry has started some work. They are putting factories near these fields where certain things are grown. So I think that will help in controlling a lot of wastages around India.
Right. Absolutely. Good. Please. Thank you.
So
again,
I'm going
mustard oil for
mustard oil again, of course. I'm never mix 2 oils. Never mix 2 oils. So if you're going to use olive oil, please only do cooking with olive oil. Or for a dish. For a dish. Even earlier, I remember when we were growing up, if I was to use desi ghee and oil in the same that day, we never had olive oil in those days. If I was to use desi ghee and refined oil in the same dish, my mother would really give me a earful that you can't use two oils together. Maybe she would not have understood the science behind it, but definitely you never mix two oils because each has different property.
Unless it's butter, which burns down.
Unless it's butter, which, then you put little oils to reduce the smoking point, increase the smoking point. So I'm adding little pumpkin seeds to this. This is amaranth, what we call cholai. Cholai sounds little domestic, I think. So amaranth sounds very exotic.
I know.
So this is amaranth, what we call it, which is good old cholai. So just lightly saute it. So to put little salt on that. So you can use cholai in many ways. You can just boil it, grind it, and use it as a kebab. Comes out very well. My favorite is cholai and mutton kebab.
Oh, really? Okay.
Brilliant. And then you dust it with the cholai seed also, the dry cholai, and then grill it. It's like two-way cholai you are eating. Very good for the gut.
And what kind of flavor profile would you think?
It will be a little sourish if you eat it. It's also an ornamental plant. I mean, if you see in some houses, it will be growing as a hedge.
It's not peppery? Little pepper?
Peppery, little tangy, little.
Yeah, quite nice.
Add to your curd. Saute lightly and add to the curd. It will be a nice cholai ka raita. So there are multiple things you can do with cholai.
I can take that.
No. Along with this, we are doing a turmeric salsa.
Oh, okay.
So we have lamb chops, which are cooked in mulati jus. Along with the pipli, which is long pepper. And we are doing a amaranth salad along with it. And haldi salsa.
Excellent.
Now haldi salsa, I already made it here. We've used fresh haldi,
okay.
which comes from Mizoram.
You mentioned.
So like we said, the curcumin content is very high in this. So that's very good again for health and immunity.
And what else have you added in the salsa?
Little lemon juice, salt, chopped red pepper, and shallots.
And in terms of presentation, tell me, what's your take? A lot of times people present something which is vertical, and by the time it reaches the guest, it's horizontal.
You got to stay very practical. You got to be very practical in presentations. You got to think that you are eating food and how would a guest cut it on the plate if I go vertical. Would it be clumsy for him when he's sitting and cutting on the table? So you got to be a little tactical, you got to think about that.
So I think a lot of people forget that when they're cooking or when they're presenting, it's for the guest to eat, not only to see. So they finish out, they say it looks good, but then they forget whether it's kind of be easy for him to eat that way.
See, looks are important. I'm not saying looks are not important. Looks are important, but they are not the mainstay of a dish. Your dish has to taste good. And little practicality is required there.
Very nice aroma you're getting of mustard and also
mustard is my favorite oil. I mean,
and also these pumpkin seeds are giving that crunch, I guess, to that full dish. Do you use a lot of pumpkin seeds in cooking now in these days?
In the breads? As a salad topping, yes, it can be used. So there are plenty of ways to do that. So haldi, you can also make a pickle out of haldi. That's what I do nowadays. I have haldi sliced, put in little vinegar and honey. So haldi little sharp to handle in its own stage. So when you add honey to it, it gives you a little sweetish tinge. Always have it on your table nowadays. It's good for immunity, good for health, good to go. Just as a garnish, you can put what you want at home, whatever you have available. So this is ready.
That's great. Outstanding it is. So,
would you like to taste it?
Yeah, I would love to. And I feel sorry for people who already had their lunch. Also, I had a lunch, but I'm blessed to be interviewing you, so I get to taste it. So, in this plate, I can see there is something which is soft, something which is firm, something which is crunchy, something which is crispy, something which is green, something which is red, which is fantastic, isn't it? So simple yet so well done.
Thank you.
And your presentation is fantastic, well done. I think I would keep it. Maybe some people want to picture it, then we'll eat it after that.
Sure.
So great. And now that we are coming, we've done this dish, and what other combinations can you use with lamb in case you have to cook something like this?
You can use cumin, goes very well.
Yeah.
You can make a marinade of cumin powder, crushed cumin and coriander.
Yeah.
That goes very well as a rub with it.
Yeah.
You can use, my favorite is garlic and green coriander with a bit of tomato juice.
Yeah.
That will act as little tenderizer.
Right.
Marinate it with little oil, mustard oil or olive oil, whatever you have at home,
Yeah.
for 2-3 hours, and then just grill it and have it plain.
Yeah.
It's an amazing dish to have on its own.
Yeah.
Rosemary, why forget rosemary? If you want to cook Western, lamb and rosemary is a deadly combination you can get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, amazing flavors you get there. Yeah.
But it's amazing that rosemary used to be earlier on the mainstay. It had to be rosemary and lamb. But today you have produced something which I didn't miss. I didn't feel that rosemary should be there. Because there's enough happening there.
Because mulati and ginger are doing the trick there.
I know, aren't they? And why not? I mean, why should we always...
So strong meat food needs stronger flavors.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I must tell you, rosemary in our state where I live, it grows wild.
Yeah.
And in fact, council maintains it. So when we don't need to buy it, we just pluck it up, and you need to pluck it because otherwise it doesn't grow.
Yeah.
So even council allows you to pluck it and use it in your home. So we use it like that.
It grows wild in Rani Khet.
It does too, yeah.
It's just growing wild. On the hilly regions, I think it grows wild.
Right. So if you had to cook this dish or make it vegetarian, what would you do instead of lamb? What substrate or what would you believe could be used? Something which is similar in terms of bringing that the meaty or kind of home kind of a...
See, the umami flavor would come by mushrooms. If you use mushrooms in this, so you can use large bulletous mushroom and marinate, lightly grill it and serve with the mushroom sauce or maybe just some sauté spinach and garlic or something there. That's what comes to my mind to get that flavor, because that flavor I don't think any other vegetarian thing would be able to match other than mushroom.
True, absolutely.
Or you can use mock meats, which are right now very fashionable to eat. Because the world is turning vegan now. So for vegans, I think mock meats is the answer. So mock meats would come near there, I think.
And are you getting a lot of requests for vegan guests now?
It's on an increase, it's on a rise. Lactose intolerant, gluten intolerant was there. It started picking up maybe 5-6 years ago. But now slowly vegan movement is also catching up. So people want almond milk and they want almond butters. So we have a program called Zesty Morning for breakfast. We launched it sometime in Jan this year. Now, of course, the buffets are, I don't know, whenever they come back, we will launch it again. But in Zesty Morning, we have this vegan section also.
Okay.
So you can have your almond, nut butters, nut milks, all these offers are there.
Right.
So yes, vegan is on a rise.
And just now you made this dish and you told us the medicinal properties of all this. But when somebody looks at it, I'm not thinking of medicine at all. But good part is that if I incorporate that in my diet, it's going to do good not only to my eyes, because when I look at it, but also to my gut.
So the trick is how to bring about a great tasty dish with all these goodness there, which need not be on your face. It's just got to be somewhere subtly there. If somebody wants to know, you tell them, otherwise it's there. So
but I think it's also important to kind of promote this, to say that goodness is there, but goodness also is doing this to your immunity, like which you mentioned earlier, that time. And now there are a lot of cases, I want to bring it back to the team in the kitchen. In Australia, there's an increase in mental health issues with the young chefs. I think it's also the stress of the job and the expectation of the client, like we mentioned earlier, is increasing. So what is the advice you have for young children or young students who are entering? How do they need to maintain their balance?
I think cooking is meditation in itself. That's what I always believe. The minute you're cooking, you're in another zone. So a lot of people turn to meditation in depression state or in state of anxiety. But when you're cooking, it is in itself is a meditation. So if you really put your wholehearted thinking into cooking, I think that will get you out of the stress.
No, absolutely. But there are, do you think the pressures have increased to what they used to be earlier when we were there, or is there not better HR practices in terms of harassment?
I think it's more to do with the social media pressure which I see coming on to a lot of chefs, because whichever guest comes, perhaps some of the guests want to take a picture and put it on Insta, so the pressure to present the plate is tremendous there. The world boundaries have broken, so everybody knows what the other one is doing. So that kind of pressure, I think, is not only in hotels or chefs, I think it's on any industry.
Sure.
That pressure is there.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a good point. And do you believe that this should be highlighted so that people can seek help if they need?
Of course,
Yeah.
of course,
Well,
mental health is very important.
Yeah.
You
So,
have to help people.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also, it's there's no shame in if you have something. Best is
Absolutely,
to seek help.
absolutely.
And like you said, in fact, cooking is in itself so relaxing.
Yeah.
And you should take pride of what comes out, and that can give you happiness.
That's right.
But the social pressures of getting the media and all that kind of makes it a little bit worse. One more question I have from you. When you talk about carbon footprints, and you spoke earlier about using some of these ingredients, does it make it a little bit regressive? Because carbon footprints, then there is a policy you'll use 10 kilometers or 100 kilometers. Now, some ingredient like this turmeric might be available a little bit far off. So, would you have somebody starting to produce it locally, or what would be the best way to go about it?
No, but carbon footprint does not mean that, I mean, whatever is available in that 100 kilometer, the best available in that 100 kilometer radius, you will use that. But if the terrain in that 100 kilometer does not augur well with haldi growing, then
Yeah.
you will get haldi from Meghalaya.
Yeah.
It will not have those properties. Okay, you may say that, okay, 100 kilometer, I'm using this haldi.
Yeah.
But it may not have those properties then. So
Yeah.
it's a kind of balance that you make. It's kind of how you want to develop your dish would depend a lot on that.
Sure, sure. So we have close to 300 students, or I believe, who would be attending this. So what are some of the advices you like to give to them?
Cook with get your basics right is very important. I feel it's very, very important to learn the basics of cooking before you go on to the next step. It's like climbing the steps. So you get your basic, then you go on to the next step and the next step. I see a lot of youngsters today getting into very advanced cooking, advanced presentation styles and sous vide and pacojet and this and that before getting their basics right, like braising or grilling. If you get those principles right, then all that will come
Yeah.
automatically to you.
Yeah.
You don't have to aspire to be there.
Yeah, yeah. And also to understand why braising is required for what kind of meat.
That's right.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
so then,
yeah.
then it allows you to change that method of cooking as long as it is doing something to the meat,
Yeah.
not just for the sake of sous vide.
Yeah, so I'm not saying don't use sous vide
Yeah.
machine or don't use pacojet. I'm saying get your basic. You should know how to make a ice cream the traditional way.
Also.
Then you go on to pacojet, it's fine with
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But you must know how to fall back onto your basic cooking styles as well.
Yeah.
Because that will give you understanding of the ingredient, the chemical composition, how it reacts, how ice cream is made, how the crystals are formed. All that will work for you.
Yeah. So there is a chef called Chef Roberto Batura who has opened this soup kitchen with Pope Francis, and that's to use all the leftovers and making something out of it. And he's feeding close to 20,000 homeless people every day. Do we have many such initiatives in India, you believe?
I know in the south, chef has Annapurna program going on where he goes around and he has a kitchen which feeds thousands of people. So that is already there. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. No, excellent. I think I should taste this because I want to make people jealous about how
I'm
lucky
sorry you
I
don't
am.
have a fork here,
Oh, that's
but
okay.
yeah, whatever it is here. Sorry, you can use this knife.
Yeah, sure. That's the good part of being a chef. We know how to use knives, whether they are for. It's so tender, chef.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I can get a little bit of. Is it pepper you used? I think this
Peepling,
flavor.
yeah, long pepper.
Long pepper.
Yeah.
And I'm also getting.
Mulati and
mulati.
ginger. And ginger.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So haldi today is available everywhere.
Hmm.
So my advice would be that you keep haldi in the fridge. Whenever you're making sabzi, whenever it's fresh available, just grate and put your sabzi over wherever you want to add
Yeah.
it to.
Yeah.
It's better than using the hydrated powder. Till
Absolutely.
it's available, use it.
Yeah.
If you don't have, then fall back on the
Powders.
organic powders. Yeah.
Oh, this is so good, chef. This really worked out very well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it has
Thank
been
you.
great to have you here. I'm glad that we have had this session today. We have been able to talk about a lot of things, but I think the biggest take for me is how to combine and make something medicinal look so good and feel happy about it. And it doesn't feel that I'm having something which is
medicine.
which is medicine, and but it gives me all the benefit. My gut is already feeling happy, and so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you.
Thank you. Over.
I don't know if
Nice.
it good. You're happy.
Yeah.